What's up, ultra happy people? Thank you for joining me in this bonus episode where we're going to chat with fellow participant and Namib desert survivor, Manika. Follow us as we are both trying to make history. Manika as being the first African American and me, the first Mexican, in completing the Grand Slam and the Grand Slam Plus challenge by racing the planet. Well, we both show ourselves and the world what women are really capable of. Hope you enjoy this conversation as we both remember the good, the bad, and the ugly of Manika's first ever ultra experience. Hello, how are you? And yeah, like I told everyone, I have an amazing guest, a surprise guest today. And Malika is here, and I just want to introduce her. Is one of the runners that I shared the magnificent desert with, and I'm so excited to just introduce you guys to her. She's absolutely amazing. And I wanted to kind of invite people that I felt connected to in some ways, and they were like really real. It's not like not everyone was real, but I think someone that wasn't afraid of saying, oh yes, this was hard, or, you know. And then I had a couple of conversations with her through the race, and I've seen her change of outlook in the race. So I really want to pick her brain and see how did that, you know, go for her. So I miss you already.
I know, I miss you.
I know, look at us. Like, you look, I mean, it's not like you didn't look good, but you know what I mean? It's almost hard to recognize everyone without our attires.
I know it. Clean clothes on now.
I know. And without your hat. I loved your hat that you had and the whole setup and your, you know, the same, because we live with the same clothes, obviously. So it's like, right. Now with different clothes and outfit, it's like, who are you?
Right.
I know. I even chopped my hair. I'm like,
yeah, you look good. Look very cute.
I know, right? So, yeah, it's been, I think, 2 weeks and something since the
just
desert.
About, yeah.
How you been feeling after what we just went through?
You know, I'm surprisingly feeling really good. Like, I expected to take months to recover because I just felt so bad during the race. But I felt really good probably just like 2-3 days after. I felt really good. I haven't returned to running yet, but I'm just taking it easy, but I feel good.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think these stage races, and what I've been telling everyone, they're a little bit nicer to people, even though you're gonna be like, no, they wasn't nicer. They are a little bit nicer just because you break the distance and you let your body recover a little bit. So at the end of the whole challenge or the race, you're not as broken because you let your body rest. I mean, you are broken, but your body is just, you know, a little bit less than just hit by a non-stop race.
Yeah.
But you were telling me when we met, I always was asking like, oh, have you done this before? So tell us, have you done a race like this before? Or what's your kind of background in the running thing?
Well, that was my very first ultra. I had never done anything remotely close to that before. The longest distance I had run prior to that was just a marathon. And I'd run 2 marathons prior. But before my marathon journey, I was just a sprinter. I did sprinting through college, middle school, high school, all of that. So my longest distance was like the 400 meters. So it was nothing ever long distance. So this was a huge transition for me.
Yeah. And I think this is going to come. That makes sense for what comment that you said during the race to me, but I'll come back to that thought. But so you were a sprinter. And what it made you change? Like, where ignited the fire of, oh, I want to go into the dark side?
Well, after graduating, I, would just go out for runs in my neighborhood. I didn't have like a reason to just like go out sprinting down the streets. So I would just go out leisure, runs. And so it just kind of made me start to think about like, oh, what if I get into like 5Ks? And so I went to like doing a couple of 5Ks. I said, that's, pretty easy, and just kind of work my way up. And then after the marathon, I was like, that it wasn't easy, but I was ready to see what more I was able to do.
Sorry, how long was from like you started doing your 5Ks to the marathon distance?
Maybe a few years, because, I graduated college about, I think 12 years ago now. And I, was doing 5Ks for probably close to 10 years, really. And I just
Wow.
jumped into trying a marathon and yeah, went from there.
Just from there, just something. That's great. And I love that, because one of the things I want to kind of put out in the podcast is that it's not, regardless of your background, if you've been running like yourself over 10 years or more than 10 years, maybe different distances, but you were not an alien to the sport. You knew what was running, and your body kind of knew the mechanic of running and all that. So it was not an easy transition, but at least your body kind of like knew what it was doing. Maybe it's a different sport altogether, but at least had that mechanism. In my story, for example, I started from 0 to couch in 0 to 50K in 6 months. So, it's a sport that you can really, it doesn't matter if you have tons of experience running or you are, starting, or if you take a long time in one distance like you did, and then one day just kind of like turn the switch and be like, why if I try this crazy thing? So when did you started, like when did you thought or heard about the Racing the Planet, or like what was your first thought when you seen it?
I really don't even remember what got me into like watching YouTube videos, but I was watching YouTube about different trail runs and just watching the UTMB and like them all up in the mountains and the Alps and all that. It looked beautiful. And so I got into like a...
You didn't get that in the sprinting though. You didn't get those views sprinting.
You do not get those views sprinting. But I was watching that and, it was very nice. But something about when I saw the Namib race come up, I was like, that really intrigued me. And it was the Jeff Peltier's video on YouTube, the series that he did. And it just made me like, me really want to do it.
10 times.
Have you?
Probably.
Yeah,
that was my way of studying the race. I was like, okay, that terrain looks this. What are they wearing? And like doing that mega zoom in the stuff he was wearing, just trying to see. Because as yourself, I may not be new to the ultra running scene, but I was new to stage racing. So this was my first stage as well as yours. And it's a totally different sport. So don't even think it's the same. Like it's not even in the same shelf. Like it's a totally different one. And you went for the big boy. So yeah. So you seen the videos from this guy and you're like, oh, I need to be there.
Yeah, I mean, it just looked cool. Like the camping aspect looked cool. The running and beautiful scenery was cool, and of course the camaraderie and just being amongst other people with the same kind of craziness. Like, I mean, it just kind of was interesting to me, and so I wanted to try it.
Do you thought I can do that like right away, or there was like a little bit of I don't know if I can do it, or a hesitation in your sides?
Yeah, I definitely did not know if I could do it. I think even like days before I left for the race, I didn't even know if I would be able to do it.
I know, I think everyone. Okay.
So yeah.
And then even though if you thought, yeah, I can do it, you got there. Was it what you were expecting? I'll answer that as well myself.
Not even 20 minutes into the race, I was like, what did I do? Like, I literally was feeling like I have messed up here bad.
So this is where I'm going to tell my story of Malika, of Manika. We're in the camp and I see you kind of like walking really crooked and like in really a lot of pain. And I felt really sorry, or like my heart went to you, because I've been in there before, obviously, like with the big blisters and stuff. I think when I started running way back, ultra running, I was one of my issues, the blisters. And when I seen you, I was like, oh man, I know how much it hurts. And I think I had one DNF because of blisters. So I know it's just one of those pains that can like stop you, and you cannot think in anything else. You even get nauseous because it's just the pain is so deep. And so when I seen you, that's where I think I connected with you, because I was like, I just wanted to give you a hug and tell you exactly how you feel. But then I was like, we're just chatting, and you were like, oh, I'm not doing this ever again. Like this is not fun. It's too slow. And I think you said it's too slow, maybe because you're coming from this sprinting background
Mm-hmm.
or these 5Ks, and you're like, I can do 5K in half an hour or less. And now I'm doing this 40 kilometers in 9 hours. Like, this is so slow. So one of my pillars of, I think everyone knows, if of my listeners, is that one of my pillars is patience and love this sport, because it requires a lot of patience, because the distance is going to go so slow. So when you said that, it also touched my heart, because I was like, I know. I know. We're mad. Why are we doing 40 kilometers in 9 hours? So that was, the reason why I kind of like felt so like, connected to you in that chat. And love, because you need to love yourself, don't talk harsh on yourself. Probably you had many conversations with yourself through that, through those tough times. So I know you went through really tough, dark times there on your own. We are mostly go on our own. Like, even though you are surrounded with people, you really are battling your battle on your own, because you cannot you can maybe catch up like we did a couple of times, exchange some words with other runners, but at the end of it, you do need to take care of yourself, and it's kind of like your own battle. So I wanted to kind of like pick your brains, and how was that battle for you? How did it change? Because I know what I'm saying, that outlook changed later during or as the race progressed, or I don't know where it changed. So that's what I want to know. So I was so happy when you said that maybe that changed, and I was like, yes, I think we converted her. We have another female ultra runner, because we said, this is too slow. I was like, oh no, we lost her. Like, she didn't like it. And I was like, so sad. But then I seen you changing, and I was like, yes, this is what I said about. So I just wanted to walk me through all that. I know it's a lot, but yeah, feel free.
Yeah. So for me, because I blistered so early on into the race, day one, really, I had to stop and try to put some stuff on my feet because of my gaiters breaking. So that was really, I think, what kind of warped my whole mind in the beginning. Because all I could do was focus on the pain. Like, there was literally nothing else I could think about. And so day 4, I think it was, like, I, of course, had all my meltdowns and just thinking about pain the whole time. And day 4, I like did the best. Like I said, I like came like a shake myself type message. Stop. Like, this, try to reframe your thinking, because you cannot just focus on this pain. And so it didn't
day 4 to think that. It took you until day 4 to kind of like do that shake.
Yeah. I was just like pitying myself the whole time, because it was just like, yeah, and I eventually just had to shake myself and just kind of like, unfortunately, because the pain was real and it really was intense, I couldn't change my thought process, but I was doing the best I could at trying to, tell myself, you're not quitting, so just, try to think about something else. But what made me change my thought process, because yes, the entire time I was thinking, I'm never doing this again. But yeah, after the race, not even probably, maybe even the same day, whenever, when the race was over, people were asking, like, oh, are you doing the next one? You doing the next one? And I was like, like, it was like a little hesitation, like a little like thought, like before, like during the race, it'd be like, no, like I didn't have to hesitate. It would have been easy to answer that. But after, I was still having a little bit of, and then maybe 2-3 days after, when I felt decent, I was like, yeah, like I could do that again, especially if my feet aren't so bad. So
yeah. I love that. And like I said, I love that change of process of thought. And probably you even thought that not only during the race. Did you ever feel like that during training as well?
During training, like,
were you like so excited like during training that kind of like never crossed your mind?
The idea that I would not want to do it, like, not want to do it again.
Like, oh, this is too much. Like, what am I doing? No, yeah, just during training.
I only had one day like that, honestly. And for the most part, because my training was fairly laid back, of course I ran long miles and all of that, but I wasn't so strict on myself to where I became so dreadful of, running. one hot day I had my pack on. I was like, thinking to myself like, man, this is going to suck. But I didn't let myself think like that for too long. And so never did I think that when I got into the race that I was going to have such lows. I really didn't expect that.
Right.
That
Because
was,
you have more time.
yeah.
It's not sprinting. So it's not like 3 minutes and you have to just convince yourself to go really fast and just battle yourself through. It's, and not even a couple of hours. It's a lot of hours that you have to fight with yourself. And I think that's what I kind of love about the sport. That's where I kind of like fell in love with the sport and what you're saying. Definitely. And you love running. Like you like this sport.
I do.
I don't know if you know, but I do hate running. I do not enjoy it. I'll tell you the little secret if you haven't heard the whole podcast series, but I'm not a fan of running. So maybe that's what I'm saying during training for me is like 5 hours run. Like, no, like I do not, it doesn't, I don't jump off the couch saying, I'd rather be in my bed 5 hours, I'm that kind of person. But I do have to get into these kind of challenges to be like, oh, I do not want to die there in the desert. I better get my ass off and do my training. So I do need that carrot in front of me. So it just shows that, you could love the running or you could love the challenge. In my case, I love that challenge. I love that fighting with your brain. So did you learn obviously like a couple of techniques in how to I don't know, talk to yourself, a fight with yourself, during this 5 days?
To be honest, I was telling my mom when I got back, I said I got through it, and I would love to be able to say it's because I conquered my mind, and I was just I struggled bad. Like I got through the negative, and I wouldn't even call it negative. It was just more so like just the pain. Like I was able to get through it, but I didn't find any kind of trick that was able to work.
Pain just overwrites everything.
It does. And every step was just agony. And so I don't know what got me through, but I did. But I can't remember now thinking back like, I don't have like an answer or like a philosophy on how I got through it. I just did. I don't know.
You are just because you're a badass. That's pretty much it. That's it. Because holding that pain, I have to say, is not fun. It's not enjoyable. And I know now that you are trying or maybe joining us in Mongolia as well. Yay! Hopefully, fingers crossed. She is co-founding to joining us in Mongolia, and hopefully the whole 4 deserts.
That'd be nice.
I mean, listen to this. She went from I don't want to do this ever again to I want to do the other 4. This is how wild the mind is, and how the mind can trick you in that moment. So that's what I was saying. Like you need to kind of like don't pay attention to yourself when you're going through the pain or being tired or being hungry or so that's actually the rule. When I went into the race, I knew, obviously, like I said, I've had my fair amount of ultras. So I know a little bit that I'm going to be facing a struggle. I don't know what kind of struggle. It could be blisters. It could be, I could twist my ankle. There's so many unknowns that you don't know what struggle. And I love that part of you're going to have to solve it in that moment, because otherwise that's you. And I love that. That's what drives me in doing the races, because I'm like, what's going to bring this one? Let's see what it brings. In your case, brought the blisters, and I can assure you next time you're going to get better in the blister situation. But it's not that I'm wishing you something bad, but something else is going to pop up. Something else is going to happen. Like you're going to get lost, or not lost, but in racing and so many like long distances and spending such a long time out there is just going to happen. So what I like to say is you need to have a plan. And I think your plan was, I'm not going to quit, and that's it. And that was just like laser focus plan. That was your plan. My plan was, I'm not going to quit if I'm hungry, if I feel hot or I feel tired. I'm going just to rest, take my time. And then if I do all that, if I eat and then rest and if I cool down, and then if I think about it and I want to quit, then I quit. Because it's also like, you're not there to do something that you don't really love either. Like if it's not, it's not being fun, also like there's no point, right? You're not going to win an award for braveness either. So it's great that having a plan. So now maybe the next race, what's your plan in that sense of, I think you didn't go through a mental breakdown or like, but now are you going to maybe study a little bit more the blister? I know it's a little bit different, the next one. The next one is not as sandy, but I think there is some sort of sand. And what I'm a little bit worried about is that now I think we have a little bit of river crossings and there is wetness. That could be potentially, another challenge that we need to think about. So it may not be desert, but are you thinking now, how am we going to attack the blister situation?
Yeah, I thought about that because when I was in the medic tent getting my blisters situated, and we were just talking about the different races, and one of the doctors was like, "Oh, you think this is bad?" He said, "Mongolia," he said, "is where he's seen the worst blisters because of the water to the sand to the water, and then just the friction." And that I said, "Oh, I could not imagine." So I don't even know what kind of sneakers or what kind of shoes would even. I don't know. I'd have to look into all of that, and it's just a few weeks away.
I know. Speaking about sneakers, I just picked up my trainers, so I'm changing trainers because of that situation. As you know, I lived in Glasgow before in Scotland, and I think I have a pretty good. My feet are pretty good with being wet because I've trained a lot in there. But the first couple of times, definitely it was a struggle. So if you don't, you have to think about that. Maybe think about the trainers that are not waterproof, because also not a good idea. But the ones that can take the water away pretty good. So really like thin, mesh on top. So I was changing mine because the ones I had, they were like really thick. So now I'm changing for really thin mesh. So when the water goes in, which is going to go in, I can, they can drain well. So you need shoes that drain well. I used to run with dry socks. I don't know if I will bring them. They're quite thick and really hot. So I don't know if I would recommend those, but yeah, it's going to be fun.
It sounds like it.
I just can't wait what's like coming for us.
We just never know.
So any like regrets apart from maybe your gaiters? So what happened with your gaiters, first of all? Like, I know they got disintegrated, but was it because the sand or was it the rough beds? Or
and I trained with them in sand, and I really expected that they were going to hold up. I didn't get them sewn to my shoe. It was more of like a shoe in a shoe. So the gaiter itself was a shoe, and I put my shoe on like inside of that, and the lining somehow just didn't line up with the sneaker, and so with going like around rocks and all that kind of stuff, it ripped, and then just got torn all to pieces. So that is a regret.
That is. So everyone, if you're thinking about doing these races, definitely go with the stitching the Velcro around, taking it to the shoemaker. Actually, like I said, I will show you guys in a normal episode. Stitching the Velcro, I think, is the best way to do it. And there's some gaiters from Red Light or some other brands that are quite sturdy, and they will. Those ones have worked perfectly for me. So definitely, are you going to do that for Mongolia then?
I definitely would need to do that. Only thing is
any other like learnings that you were like, oh shoot, I should have done that? Because I love the beginning. When is your beginning, like in your journey? Like it's just like, starting like break out that decent. Like it was your first time going over even the marathon. Like, and that was the first time you went over a marathon and you did 50 miles. Like, that is a lot. Like, it took
Yeah.
me maybe a year to go into ultras to get to attack a 50 miler. And you just
Mm-hmm.
went from like marathon to
Yeah.
50 miler in like, and then after 4 days of massive heat and like struggle, like that was
Mm-hmm.
hard. It was hard already for like, it was just, that is
Yeah.
mad. You're amazing. I
Oh, well,
was like
thank you.
in
Thank
awe
you.
with everyone that was like, this is gonna be my first ultra. And I was like, oh dear God. Like, your body has no recollection of this distance, and then you're just
Mm-hmm.
gonna slap it. But how did you feel with the long march? Is there anything that you learned about the long march, like nutrition? Like, how did your body felt? I know it's just slower than usual, that you would love to, but oh, that's my total jam. Like 1 day long, hard day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did
Well,
you like it?
I did so much research in advance to where I felt like literally everything else, I don't want to say I nailed it, but like I got it pretty spot on.
Perfect.
With, my bag to like my nutrition, hydration, my heat training, like my clothes. Like I
Like,
felt
you
really
were
good.
like never hot. Let me
I was
point that
not
out.
hot. You said what?
Let me point that out, because I was dying. Like, no, Manika couldn't run because your feet were blistered, and I couldn't run because it was freaking hot. So I was like, we could just cross our skills and weaknesses,
Uh-huh.
and we will do a super athlete. Like, pass me your powers of not being hot, and then I'll give you my feet, and then we will like smash the race. Because we were like, just let's exchange here, because this is not working. My
I
feet
have a
are running.
recording.
I don't have a blister, but I can't run because I overheat and I just want to like throw up and pass out.
Oh, wow. I have a recording of myself literally saying, I'm like holding my phone, and I was like, if my feet did not hurt so bad, I borderline could probably win this thing. Like, because I wasn't hot, I felt strong, and I just was crippled by the blisters. So yeah.
And I thought I had probably the same. Like, if the heat wasn't out, probably I would be running.
Exactly.
Maybe not win, but probably I would be out there having fun, like being fast, and
Yeah.
if the heat wasn't this, yeah, I know. And it's like I said, there's always going to be something.
Yeah.
So that's the beauty of the ultra marathons or stage races, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the long stage, do you like the feeling of like a whole day, like that effort?
No. I didn't. I mean, of course, that's day 5 now after being in so
Look at
much
my
pain.
sadness.
Huh? And and again, my experience is warped because of the pain. So I might have enjoyed it. There was a point where the doctors had said, don't take ibuprofen because it's bad for your kidneys with the heat and all of that. And I was in so much pain. I said, you know what? I'm really willing to risk my kidneys at this point. I'm going to just drink tons of water. I cannot do this. And so I took ibuprofen. I took ibuprofen and Tylenol mixed and was just trying the best. And it only would last for like 30 minutes at a time.
Yeah.
And so I said, I'm not going to continually take ibuprofen. So there was a point where I stopped. But yeah, so I was out there for 22 hours. And that was, I got into camp at 5:30 a.m. So yeah, that was a lot.
That was fun.
So much fun.
so much time with yourself. What to do in that time?
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, you probably think a lot and you have like these deep conversations where I'm like, no, there were no conversations. I was just trying to survive the day. I was like, come on, don't pass out, eat, drink, just do this, do that. And you probably were like, don't feel the pain, don't think about the pain. Like, we're all having like, there is no like thinking about, like beautiful moment. You're like,
it's crazy you say that, because leading up to the race, I was thinking like, I'm gonna have so much time to just kind of reflect on everything and just reflect on life and just think about maybe new ideas. Like, I really thought I was have all this thinking time. No.
No, it's not how it works. Not at least in a race that and it's the one that is demanding so much from you. And I was saying that in the last podcast. I do have training runs where I do have my to-do list, like, oh, I have to do this, I have to solve that. And then maybe in a training run you could do, if you're in the street, like, you know, you can get into that flow and you kind of like start, you can reflect, do a lot of thinking. I like that. But in the race, I think this race was not one of those. And if you go into maybe, let's say, another ultra running race, sometimes you have to navigate and just that involved with, don't get lost. Where is the next day? There's no markers in some races, so you do have to navigate on your own. So that involves also another thing, like, oh, look at the map, like, don't get lost. Where are you? Where can you go? So there's always things that you need to be solving, which again, that's the part that I love. So that part you were like comfortable with, like solving and thinking, which is great, obviously, because like I said, I think it was a race not about fitness at all. It's just about how good can you manage yourself, your mind, your, you know, like the water, foods, all that kind of like in balance, so you don't bunk, you don't die, but you still have food for the next day. And it's a lot of management. How did you get on with that? Because I was new into that as well.
I did pretty good. As far as like, I had a plan for like my meals. I had everything portioned out. I had all of my salt and all of that for the day planned. And so there was a point toward the end, though, that I didn't plan out perfectly my breakfast, because I was doing the same breakfast every day. And for the long stage, I could not eat my breakfast. I was oatmeal. I just could not eat oatmeal for another day. So I did think, like, risk yourself being nauseous because you eat this again, or like risk yourself like just being bad off because you're not getting the calories you need. And so I took the risk of just like bonking because I didn't eat my breakfast.
Oh no! I mean, I guess it worked. We don't recommend doing that, but
my drinks had calories in it. My snacks along the race had calories and stuff. But I felt if I ate that oatmeal one more day, I would throw it all up. So I didn't even try. So I will do different next time.
Notes for the next one. Let's change that. I have that note as well. I think I had too many sweet stuff. So in my notes is a Mexican race, so I need like spicy, salty things. I got home and I couldn't stop eating Tabasco. Like I went through pretty much 10 or 15 bottles of Tabasco at this point.
Wow.
So I was like, I need to, add like something more tastier than just everything is so sweet. So and I should have known better, but exactly. So it just, exactly. It just, so that was a note. Well, do you have any other notes on that end? I struggle with the management because, I ran out of food.
Oh, did you? Okay.
The last day. I never thought I would be doing 8 hours, 9 in a 40 kilometer. I planned for 7. So I started taking food from the next day into, I started just eating my food. So I was like, you know what? I'll figure it out. And I was, you know how people were saying, I'm not hungry. I was starving.
Yes.
I was in camp and like looking at someone that wasn't finishing their food packet, and I'm like, "Are you gonna finish that?" No. And I was just like eating everyone's food. I was starving all the time, and people were struggling to eat. I was shocked.
Wow.
It was something I like I said, it's a new sport, so you did good. Did you plan for being out that much time? How did you plan how did you know you were going to be out that long?
Well, I had planned to have a decent amount of snacks throughout the race. I didn't know how long I was going to be out. I have like almost like a mentor, I would say. He was telling me plan for like 18 to 19 minute miles. And I was like, 19-minute miles? Like, that is like so slow. Like, what in the world?
I'm a sprinter. I'm going to do like half an hour's splits of this. And then you're like,
so he kind of told me that, and he was like, just like prepare for that. And I was thinking like, there's no way I'll be going that slow, but I'll plan for that. And I did. And thankfully I did, because I was running I was going much slower than that pace.
That was so good that you have someone to tell you that. That is, I
Yeah.
think that if you're new to the sport, ultra running in one go, like nonstop or stages, I think that's one critical point that you always think that you're going to be. There's always put more. I did have my emergency calories, which I ate as well, and I was still struggling. But yeah, exactly. So
How many calories did you bring?
I think I had 14,000.
Oh, see, I brought 26,000 calories.
What? Oh my god! How heavy was your pack?
It was 10K.
Yeah, I think mine was.
No, I'm sorry,
yeah,
11K.
Yeah, okay. I think I'm planning. I'm not going to plan the same in Mongolia because I know I'm going to be in hopefully a normal pace and more normal pace than. Nothing can be slower than this. Yeah, you watch out. Nothing can be slower than sand and 50-degree heat, 126. Like nothing can be slower than this. So yeah, I think I'm gonna pack the same. Just thinking, I know I ran out of food at the end, but I think it was just the circumstances. They were just a little bit more extreme than Mongolia, perhaps. So yeah, that was a good. But it could be blisters. So yeah, maybe we'll think about. We'll have to have a wee think about those extra calories. You did amazing, and I think that was one of the pro things that people learn the hard way, and you didn't learn the hard way. Foods, like you didn't run out of food, so you did well. If you had less calories or less fuel and the pain, that would have been maybe a little bit more of a struggle. Like you were already uncomfortable, and if you add anything extra to that uncomfortableness, I think it would have been like an explosion. Like it wouldn't have been bearable anymore. So I think you being smart in that sense with everything else, that that was so good because you managed that very well and you were prepared for everything. Maybe not for the blisters, but then like I said, that just you weren't in control of the blisters. Like you didn't know that was going to happen. So but you could control your food, you can control your water, so you did the right thing. And that was, I think, one of the big parts of your success, that despite the pain you were able to push, but because you were fueled, you were hydrated, you were well trained, obviously. And so did you do any heat training? Because you didn't struggle with heat. Did you do any?
I did. The heat training, I went to the sauna every day, and it was a 45-minute like infrared sauna. And so it wasn't really hot, like overly hot. I was actually hoping for it to be hotter, but the average temperature, I don't know what it is considered in Celsius, but in Fahrenheit, it got up to like 160 Fahrenheit. So I think that's maybe 70 Celsius, 60 Celsius. I'm not sure, but and I really I wasn't in the mindset of like, oh, this is going to make me not hot in the desert. I just really was enjoying going to the sauna every day. It was just nice.
It's a nice treat.
Yeah, it was just relaxing.
I'm training. I need to be 1 hour spa in the jacuzzi and in the sauna. That's my part of my training.
And it worked out really good because there were honestly some days, like the first couple of days, everyone was saying like they were so hot. And I felt cool. I felt like cool to the touch. And I thought maybe it could have been no more than maybe like 20 something Celsius, I guess. 30, I don't know. It's hard for me to think in Celsius, but
no. It was like 30 something. Yeah, the first
day. Yeah, and so I really didn't know. I wasn't, and I was thinking to myself, I said, is it that my feet hurt so bad that I can't tell that I'm hot? Like, is it like I can only think about one thing at a time? But no, I felt comfortable.
Wow. So heat training really worked for you, because I tried it and it just didn't make a difference really. Maybe because I was leaving somewhere that is really cold. So despite I did 40 minutes, you went out and you leave the rest of the 23 hours of your day in freezing cold.
Yeah.
It's not really
didn't
really,
adjust that much.
It's not, it doesn't, I don't know if it makes a big sense and make difference. And I think, but you did amazing. And I think you did so well. So I guess I'll see you in Mongolia.
I'm working to see if I can make it. I have to just kind of look at everything and see. I would love to. I would definitely love to. But yeah, we'll see.
Well, if not, would you consider doing just a normal ultra race or ultra run, like a normal one nonstop? Like, let's say another 50 miler, just like that. I think you
I
will do so
definitely would.
good.
I would definitely try. I would, for some reason, international races just really intrigue me.
Yeah, I love the traveling.
So I don't know if I would just go out and run. I mean, I would in my area, but the international piece just kind of really excites me. So,
Yeah, I know. That's why I think one of the other reasons I started doing ultra running, because it takes you to places that you probably have never been or never,
yeah.
never crossed your mind. And I love traveling as well. And it's just a good excuse to like, oh, I have a race, and you have to go because you have a race. So yeah,
Hmm.
definitely. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so happy that you kind of turned around from that day that I seen you a little sad and like, no, it's too slow. This is just so stupid. And then it's like, I want to do them all. Yeah. And I love that. It's like so empowering that to
Hmm.
find that strength after the struggle. I know it's like so cliche, but it's true. Like whatever
Hmm.
struggle you went through, struggle with the blisters. I went through struggle with the heat. So many others went through a struggle of nauseous and throwing up or digestive issues.
Hmm.
Like there's always going to be something, and not only in racing, but I think in life as well. And just the way you solve that struggle is going to make you definitely smarter and better for the next one or for the next stage in your life, or just
Hmm.
want to prepare you. So I am sure if it's not Mongolia or the next race, you're going to be nailing your footwear the next time. So there's going to be no blisters. But yeah, it's going to be something else. It
Yeah,
has to be.
definitely so.
If it was easy, it wouldn't be fun. Like
Yeah,
you want something difficult, because
right.
otherwise,
I agree. I definitely agree with that. So the challenge made it memorable. It made it now like the next kind of challenge to, like you said, there's always going to be something next. So it's like, it's always just kind of like you're chasing, I wouldn't say chasing perfection, but you're trying to like see how you can make it better the next time. But then there's always going to be something. So it's like you're always kind of chasing something. And it is fun. That is fun.
yeah, I love this. I think this sport is not like, let's say, I don't know, another sport, tennis, and you cannot make it harder. It's just how it is. It's the tennis court, is the ball, and the net.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot add too much complication to it.
Right.
But I think this sport, ultra running, you can go as wild as you want. Like
Yeah.
you can do, if you want to. There's races, like I said, in the UK that are self-navigating. There are some that
Mm-hmm.
are in the middle of winter.
Mm-hmm.
I did one of those. That was amazing experience in going like super cold and just trying to navigate with that cold. It's a different experience. It was maybe the same distance as a 50 miler, but it
Mm-hmm.
feels totally different, which is in a different surrounding, and you can make it as hard as, maybe I nailed the reading maps and things. Now I'm going to go a little bit more difficult, and I can, you can tweak and change and make it a little bit harder and harder each time.
Mm-hmm.
So I have in my, that's why I choose these races, or why I went to Racing the Planet, because I think every year I'm like, I need to do something bigger or a little bit harder than I did
Mm-hmm.
last year. So, just starting to, but if you started with this one, that's going to be hard to top up. That is the problem. Like, where next?
I
What are you going
know.
to do next?
I know. It is hard to top it. And honestly, with Mongolia, I was even trying to think like, of course, I would love to do all of them, but I wonder, like, for Namibia, moving to Mongolia, will it feel? I guess it will present its own challenges, but I don't know. I feel like Namibia will be my favorite, but I don't know. I don't know.
I think I always say, this is my favorite. And the next race is like, no, this is my favorite. And then the next one, like this. And then I think every race, if you see my Instagram, I'm like, this is the hardest thing I've ever done. And then I do the next one, like, no, this is definitely the hardest thing I've ever done. And then I go, so I think, yeah. But when I say that, it's like I'm doing the right thing, because every time is harder and harder in that moment. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
Tanya of 5 years ago wouldn't have been able to finish it. Who knows? But it's just
Mm-hmm.
like scaling and scaling it. And these, obviously, because you went through this like great learning of yourself. I mean, I know there was no breakthroughs, but you had to take away something from it, from yourself, and like like
Oh
myself,
yeah.
I said, oh my God, I'm definitely stronger than I thought because
Hmm.
that was brutal. Is there anything that you took away from this adventure?
Yes, I definitely learned that I'm much stronger than I thought. I learned also like, and I'm not sure if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but once I put it into my mind, I'm not going to stop. And I even was wondering, like, am I putting myself like in danger of like not having feet by the end of this? Like, there were points where I thought maybe I could potentially like ruin myself for like permanently because I was in so much pain, but I just have that don't quit attitude. And I knew I had that, but now I really, really know I have that.
A little bit of stubbornness there. I like it.
Yeah, I think so.
That is some great. I am a crying baby. Like at the moment something feels like too painful, I'm like, no. I do have to like I do have to fight myself a lot
Mhm.
more. Like maybe more than I'm a crying baby. Definitely. Yeah. So maybe not the perfect sport to be a crying baby. Is there a thing that kind of like transcend into your life after the race? Is there anything you're like, oh, I'm gonna put this learning or this thought into my normal life? I always feel like doing this ultra race, like patience for me, for example, right? I'm not patient, but it's something that this sport has taught me, and like the love of yourself as well. I feel like not that I didn't love myself, but I was really harsh on myself, like, oh, why you don't do this right, or why you can't learn this as fast, or why you're not as fast as the other one. And I think this sport teaches you so many values, and in my case, like I said, I'm giving you my example, it's patience, right? So you need to be patient, like with yourself, and
Hmm.
you need to be love yourself through the journey, because it's the first time you're doing this, it's the first time you're being this person, and you have to
Yeah.
be kind, because otherwise you're not going to. That's that's the foundation of everything, as I always
Yeah.
say. Is there anything that has transcended this adventure into your kind of like everyday kind of thoughts
I
or
think
life?
I think for me two things. One being, of course, with Racing the Planet and their motto of it being more than a race.
Yep.
The experience that I had before the race began, going to feed the children in Namibia, and just seeing how I can use my platform to help. It did transcend down to me to see like, oh, I can use my platform to help more. Even through racing, I can now go to these different countries and then see how I can help out in any way. That was special for me. And then another thing that that I've been able to remember, or yeah, I would say remember, is this run your own race. Like there were points in the race where I was like wanting to like catch up to people, but then I was hurting myself so bad trying to catch up, and then I was just like, but I was like, you know what? This is like about like just stay within yourself and do you. Like that is what I had to remember, and then that's just kind of what I take into my life now. Like just do your own thing. Like stay within yourself. Of course, you can be inspired and do see different ones, but still stay within yourself
Be
to
yourself.
yeah. So
Oh, I love that. I love that, and that's one of the things I said. I think since in the first episode of the season 2, actually, like you do you and yourself.
mhm.
Because someone was saying, "Oh, was there in my tent? It was a lot of pro people like doing their thing," and since then I was like, "No, you do you. You you have your plan. Just do what you came to do, and
Mhm.
don't." It's a little bit tricky to take advice from people, because sometimes maybe that advice may not be good for you, or so
Mhm.
exactly. It was like just do your own race, it's your own pace. You run your life at your own pace,
Mhm.
the same in a race. Oh, that was such a beautiful thought. And with that, I think we're going to let you go today, and I am so excited to hopefully see you in Mongolia. Please, everyone, if you are listening, you can support Manika to get to Mongolia and run with me another beautiful adventure. I'm going to put down below her links so you can just donate there. And like she said, she's going to use also that for that platforms. Follow her on her Instagram and all her social media, and she's going to be doing so good and so many people, other people happy, and keep inspiring us to do much more and be stronger than we think we are. So thank you so much for sharing your story. It was beautiful, and I love that you crossed to the dark side with with us. We have another female ultra runner, an amazing athlete. I'm so excited, and I hope to see you there in Mongolia.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I had so much fun, and I hope to see you in Mongolia.
Yay!